Hi guys, welcome to my channel and my new video for Vampire Diaries, talking about season 1, episode 3 and episode 4. So we start episode 3 with Damon and Caroline. Caroline's in bed and she's just woken up and she's been bitten by Damon and she's sort of realized what's happened and she's trying to escape because she finds blood on her neck. Damon's super creepy in that moment. He's just really preying on her at that moment and it's just really uncomfortable. I hate this part of Vampire Diaries when Damon's really like stalking Caroline and treating her like that, because they're both actually my favorite characters. I love Caroline and I love Damon, but like she's just so much stronger than what she is now in these episodes. Like she gets so much better and it's just really weird to see her from the start, and I hate seeing her like that, getting sort of, you know, preyed on. In this episode, we see Stefan joining the football team and he's all like in class. He's answering all these questions. He knows all the history of Mystic Falls and all these random dates of when things happened in the world. And it's just funny seeing the teacher be like, you know, when he's like, you're wrong. I was like, what kind of teacher would be like that? Wouldn't you just be proud that the student knows what they're talking about? Like, I just thought that was so random how he's like happy when he thought Stefan got something wrong. But that also is a massive hint that you know, no one knows he's a vampire yet, but like it's a hint that, you know, how does this guy just know everything when no other students know that much? Then we go to the cheer practice and football practice and all that, and you can see that Damon is quite in love with Elena already, because he drops Caroline off and he just stares at Elena and he's smiling at her and everything, and he's I think later in the episode he says like, you should quit cheerleading because you look so unhappy. And it's almost like, why do you have that, like why do you care so much? You know, he wouldn't tell anyone else that. He wouldn't tell Bonnie things like that, or Caroline, or any other girl. He only tells Elena, you know, because he actually cares for her and her happiness. So I thought that was interesting. You know, we see at this point Caroline's got this scarf around her neck. She's trying to hide the situation going on with the bite on her neck, and she's also compelled to do this. Also really hating how Tyler's been such a dick to Stefan at the moment. Like he's just really threatened by him, but I don't know why, because he's nothing to do with him. So like Matt should be the one who's annoyed at Stefan and isn't comfortable with Stefan, but yet Tyler's being this smart ass, like trying to throw the ball at him and everything. You know, in the football game we see that he ends up like breaking his hand, and was it this episode or episode 4? I don't remember. It's one of the two. He's just, yeah, being a dickhead, and I don't know why. He just, yeah, like Stefan did nothing to him. So it's showing a bit of Tyler, how he's got that sort of aggressiveness and like attitude and yeah, like that aggression in him, which we'll see in the future a little bit more about why. Yeah, it's sort of really setting up all the characters at the moment at the start. We also see that Elena notices that Bonnie's a bit uncomfortable with Stefan. I think it was in the last episode where Bonnie touched Stefan, like accidentally touched his arm, and she's like, she saw something and she's like, there's something not right about him. And then Elena's like, let's just have a dinner, you know, trust me, you'll like Stefan and all that. Elena just wants Bonnie to know how great of a guy Stefan is. So yeah, they have this dinner. What I loved is that Stefan, he knows obviously about the witches, like in Bonnie's history, like family history, the Bennett witches. Stefan knows all about it. Obviously it dates back to when Stefan was around, when he first became a vampire, when he was a human even, that witches were around. It was cool to see Bonnie sort of realize like, you know what, he's alright. Because when he was encouraging Bonnie, I think that gave her the confidence to be like, maybe he's not so bad after all. Like she got it wrong, the whole death thing, that he's actually a really cool guy who understands what I'm going through and believes that, you know, I'm not crazy. And then we see, of course, Damon and Caroline rock up to the dinner to make things really dramatic, which I liked. I thought it makes it so much more interesting to have like the whole like gang there. Again, yeah, this is where Damon told Elena, you know, you should quit cheerleading and all that, and clearly he's really into her at this point. You can just see. At the dinner as well, of course, Catherine is brought up and Elena's just sussing out more information about her, and you can really see that Damon is in love with Catherine. Little does Elena know what Catherine looks like and the history of Catherine, but you can really see that that there really was a love triangle going on, and that Damon's still in love with Catherine. And it's just funny how he loves torturing Stefan about her as well, bringing her up in front of Elena so that Elena thinks she's this ex that was so recent, even though she's from, what, like 1864. We see the crow again. Like, Elena's having dreams about Damon, and we see that crow in her window. I seriously thought the crow disappeared by now, so I don't know when it disappears. But anyway, we know that Damon actually can control Elena's dreams. So vampires can do that. They can impact the dreams of people. And so he's obviously getting in her head and making her dream about him. I also thought it was interesting how Elena quit cheerleading straight after Damon said, you know, you should quit cheerleading. Like, she listens to Damon. You know, would she listen to Stefan if Stefan said it, or would she just keep going? Like, I just found that funny. Like, I totally forgot that that happened and that she quit pretty much straight after Damon said so. So she's clearly got some... Not that she's got feelings for him at this point, but she clearly cares about his opinion, and I think she does like him. Even though Stefan seems to hate him, I think she still respects Damon and wants to like him as Stefan's brother. We also first get introduced to the necklace, the Irvain necklace that is a herb, or an herb as Americans like to say. So it's a herb that basically protects humans from being compelled by vampires. I don't know why, but it does. So if she keeps the necklace on, Stefan's like, don't ever take it off. And if she keeps it on, she cannot be compelled. So, you know, we see that a bit later, how Damon compels Elena to try and kiss him, and then she slaps him. She's like, what the hell? And he doesn't know why. He knows something's up, but he doesn't realize that it's in the necklace. You know, we also see for the first time, I think it was the first time, how, like, vampires heal really quickly. How Stefan's hand, you know, Elena sees the hand, and the scar or the cut, and it disappears pretty much straight away. So already things are starting to happen where Elena's like, what? Like, she sees his eyes, she's seen the cut now. There's a few things that's happened, and she's like, this is really weird. Am I imagining things? So yeah, we see that, and that was a big, like, whoops moment. I think my favorite part of this episode was the end. Just the whole theme at the end. Like, the whole episode was great, but just the focus on Damon and how he has no humanity. You know, you have Stefan saying, like, Damon's a monster, he has no love. Because Stefan's like, at first, you know, I thought you had no humanity left, but you do. I see it how you feel for Elena. You have some sort of humanity left. And then Damon, it strikes the chord with Damon, and he obviously kills Tanner. He tries to prove Stefan wrong. He wants to be this bad guy who has no humanity. Like, that struck something in him. He's trying to prove to Stefan that, no, I don't. Obviously kills someone. And then it ends with Stefan being like, I was wrong. He has no humanity, no love. There's nothing good in him, no kindness, only a monster. And then at the same time, we just see Damon over Elena's bed, just watching her and, like, stroking her cheek. And that moment was so, like, gave me goosebumps. I always love that moment. When I first saw it and just watching it again, I'm like, that was so good. I just think it was really well done, that ending, and just seeing Damon like that. You know, Stefan just paints him as this bad guy, well, because Damon paints himself that way, but really he does have love and kindness left in him. He just doesn't want to show it, though, and I don't know why he wants to be like that, why he wants to not let people in. And I think it's because he's been heartbroken before with Catherine, and so he doesn't want to let anyone see that he might have feelings for Elena. He doesn't want to, even though he can torture Stefan about it and piss him off. I think he still doesn't really want to be seen as this good guy, because it's just easier being the bad guy that doesn't let anyone in and no one cares about. But just, that was genius, having that voiceover and then seeing that image of him, like, stroking Elena's face while she's sleeping. And yeah, you know, you don't see Stefan doing that. So Damon really does care for her, and it's really sweet. And that was episode 3. So now to episode 4. Okay, in this episode, it begins with clearly what appears to be a dream. We think at first maybe it's Elena's dream, but then it's like, it makes sense that it's Stefan's, because, you know, Damon can control the dreams, and why would he make Elena have a nightmare about him? So, it makes sense that it's Stefan's dream. We find out that there's going to be this big founders party, and of course, Elena invites Stefan to the party, and Damon's trying to, you know, get into the party, so he makes Caroline invite him as well. It's funny seeing how compelled Caroline is, because she's just talking to Damon about vampires and, like, will I turn into a vampire? And just talking to him casually, talking about the Twilight references. Yeah, he's really got her just compelled completely. She just does not know what's happening. We also see that there's this pocket watch in the episode that Tyler's mum is really wanting to get that from the Gilberts, because it's a Gilbert watch that Elena's parents left for them, and it belongs to Jeremy. We don't know why at this point. Why do they want the watch? Why do the members of the council? So we've got Sheriff Forbes, which is Caroline's mum, and we've got Tyler Lockwood's parents. His dad is the mayor. Why do they want this watch? So they really emphasize how they want this watch. They'll promise the watch, so Elena gives it to them, but Jeremy's not happy about it because he was promised it. And then at the end of the episode, we find out why they want that watch. I also thought it was cool, discovering that Caroline's mum is the sheriff in this episode. I love Sheriff Forbes, and I love that she's a big part of the show and that she's a cool character. It just makes Caroline even cooler, just to see that, her mum is someone important. It's not just, it's kind of cool to see why Caroline's like she is. She doesn't have a great relationship with her mum at this point, and it's you understand Caroline a little bit more. It's really cool how at the founders party, Elena happens to see Stefan and Damon Salvatore's name on the wall. The founders, there's the original names of the founding families on the wall, and Elena sees their names. She's like, that's strange. And they make up something about them. There's being the original Damon and Stefan Salvatore, and they talk about the battle at Willow Creek and how people were tortured and burned alive. And we know that really happened, that Stefan and Damon were there when that happened. And that's how they lost Catherine. I just like the way they tie that together. I thought it was really interesting. But wouldn't you be a little bit like, what? Stefan and Damon are on the wall? I know that. There could be chance that they're the original Damon and Stefan. So, I get it how Stefan said that and it worked. It brushed her off. But it's still so random. Two names like that, Stefan and Damon, are not very common names. And the fact that there were other brothers called Damon and Stefan, it was weird that she just believed that really quickly. We're starting to see more of Bonnie as well and how she's got her powers. She's burning, lighting candles. She can manipulate fire, I guess we're seeing. We're seeing her getting stronger with her powers, so I like that, because I find the Bonnie story and the whole witch thing interesting as well, because it just makes it just be so much more interesting that it's not just vampires. There's other sort of creatures and supernatural elements to the show as well. In this episode, we're introduced to Logan Fell, who's this reporter who dated Aunt Jenna, and they ended really badly. And so in this episode, we see that he's trying to make up with her and get the pocket watch, which we discover at the end of the episode why. And I find that crazy how we discover that they all know about the vampires. That was a great ending, because you're like, this whole time we thought people didn't know, and then bam, the founding families or the, people who are part of the council know all about the vampires and know that they're back in town. In this episode, towards the end as well, Elena discovers that something is seriously sick with Damon, because he sees the bite marks on Caroline. At this time as well, Stefan has spiked Caroline's drink, because he can't spike Damon's drink because Damon's too smart and he knows what Stefan could put in the drink. So he spiked Caroline's drink and she's got Vervain in her system. And then Elena goes up to Damon and threatens him. Of course, he retaliates and basically is about to kill Caroline, and that pretty much saved her. The Vervain in her system saved her, because then Stefan can capture Damon and put him in that random room in the basement and have him locked up. Then Stefan wants to starve Damon of blood, and then he becomes this mummy, almost this living corpse who can't even move and is paralyzed. That's what Stefan wants to do to his brother. But Damon is out of control, so I don't really blame Stefan, but I just couldn't believe that at that point Caroline could have died if she didn't have the Vervain in her system. So I'm really glad she didn't die at that point, because she is a great character and it would have been really crap if she did. But yeah, very interesting at the end how they all know, and this Logan says, they've come back, and we find out that they need that watch. It's going to help them detect where they are, where the vampires are, and help them capture them and kill them. Yeah, that had me worried, because, as an audience, we see it as Stefan's a good vampire, like, and Damon, we don't want to see Damon die. Well, I didn't want to see Damon die. Like, obviously I've seen it, but like, even at that point, I'm like, I don't want them to capture Damon. I like Damon. So you think, oh no, like, we don't want them to discover the vampires are back. Like, we don't want them to learn who they are. And at that point, I'm not really thinking that there are other vampires around. It's just the Salvatores at the moment. Obviously, if Damon were to kill any person with vampire blood in their system, then we're going to have more vampires in Mystic Falls. So yeah, overall, these 2 episodes together were great. They both had great endings. I really like this ending because it makes me think like, okay, what happens in the next episode now? You know, we've got the parents of the main characters who all know about vampires, that it's not just this distant thing that, you know, Stefan and Damon are almost like oblivious. How do they think that no one knows or remembers or has heard about vampires? They think it's seriously in the past, but it's so not, and they all know about it. So really interesting. So let me know what you guys thought of the episodes. Did you like it? What were you thinking at this point? Who was your favorite character? Yeah, let me know what you thought overall. I hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for episode 5 and 6 in the next video.